freedom, man. That's what it's all about. You've got to groove on freedom, like the good book says.
Welcome. You are listening to What on Earth is Happening. This show will discuss the topics of human consciousness, mind control, natural law, the occult, and all issues that affect the freedom of the people of Earth. What on Earth is Happening will endeavor to shine light upon the darkness of our world and to offer empowering solutions to the problems we face as humanity approaches its critical moment of choice. And now, here is your host, Mark Passio.
Welcome one and all. You're listening to What on Earth is Happening right here on the Republic Broadcasting Radio Network. I'm your host, Mark Passio. My website, whatonearthishappening.com. The network's website, republicbroadcasting.org. Today is Saturday, October 11th, 2014. This show is live here on RBN every Saturday evening from 10 p.m. to 1 a.m. Eastern Time. That's 9 p.m. to midnight Central Time. We have a great show lined up for you here tonight. My very special in-studio guest for tonight's broadcast is Jay Parker. Jay Parker was born into a multi-generational satanic family and received monarch trauma-based mind control as a child. For the first 7 years of his life, Jay was subjected to satanic ritual abuse in a large cult setting. Jay now speaks on recovery and healing methods for satanic ritual abuse survivors. He discusses in detail neurological and biological discoveries related to satanic ritual abuse. In his talks, Jay reveals a specialized holistic approach for satanic ritual abuse healing. So that's going to be my guest coming up this hour, and through the whole show we'll be taking calls during the third hour of tonight's broadcast. Jay and I will be taking your calls. Let me give the call-in number if you want to get in the call queue. The call-in number to join us in the third hour of the broadcast tonight, 800-313-9443. Once again, the call-in number, 800-313-9443. I want to start with a couple of quick event announcements. The Demystifying the Occult seminar that I did on Saturday, October 4th, last Saturday, went very, very well. It was very well attended. We had about 100 people there in Manchester, Connecticut, over double what we did the year before. I want to send out a very special thanks to Art and Chris Capozzi for their organization of this event. I want to thank Richard Grove and the entire Tragedy and Hope Communications crew for coming out and filming in very high broadcast quality the entire day, the whole seminar. And we're going to have that out on video shortly, probably within a couple months or so. I mean, it won't, the footage will have to be edited and the slides will have to be put to the footage, but it will be forthcoming soon for people to check out on my website and my YouTube channel. So thanks to everyone who made that event very, very great. Also thanks to Barb for helping out, for running the merchandise table. And, a lot of people came out and really were very, very attentive, had a lot of great questions. I got in a lot of great discussions with people. And it was just a great day all around. What can I say? I think it went off entirely without a hitch. And it was really great meeting new people up in Connecticut once again. So thanks to all who attended and thanks to all who made the day a huge success. Another event announcement, quickly, I have coming up the free documentary screening and discussion evening that Barb and I host here in Philadelphia as part of the Truth, Freedom, Prosperity group. This coming Thursday, October 16th, we will be meeting at the Guerin Recreation Center. The Guerin Rec Center is at 1600 Jackson Street in Philadelphia, the corner of 16th and Jackson Streets. And this month we will be showing the documentary film called Building the Machine, a movie about the Common Core States Standard Initiative and its effects on American children's education. Common Core is the largest systemic reform of American public education in recent history and has become one of the most controversial and yet unheard of issues in America. This documentary, Building the Machine, is the first ever investigative documentary about the Common Core state standards. And, people who know what I talk about and have been talking about on this show regarding mind control and indoctrination techniques will know that I don't have a very good opinion of the Common Core initiatives. I think that they are part of outcome-based education, which goes back to the Prussian indoctrination methodology and the Nazi mastery learning outcome-based education and the type of outcome-based education that the Soviet indoctrination system was based on. This is just bringing those purely fascist and communist education methodologies into the United States, and it serves as nothing but a mind control method for the young. And this documentary takes a little bit more moderate of an approach by just basically talking about what the Common Core is, and that most people have never even heard of it because it was kind of like, slammed through in all the states without even really the people who were voting on it knowing what it was. And, it tries to just educate people about what this is going to do to the overall basic mindset of children should it be fully implemented. So that's what this documentary is about. Once again, this documentary screening is free to attend. Thursday, October 16th, 7 o'clock p.m. start time at the Guerin Recreation Center, 16th and Jackson Streets in Philadelphia. For more information, you can go to truthfreedomprosperity.org. Unfortunately, it looks like I'm going to have to be canceling the Kansas City seminar that I had planned for November 22nd or 23rd. We really haven't secured a new venue, unfortunately, and it just, to me, doesn't seem like there's going to be enough time since the original venue fell through to restructure this and promote it in enough time. So barring any kind of a miracle, more likely than not, I'll be canceling that presentation in Kansas City. To be quite honest, I really want to kind of restructure what I've been doing recently and come up with a new attack plan or strategy. And I think that's going to involve some more small seminars here in Philadelphia, perhaps with one or two other people involved, and hosting things locally and recording that to get out there on video on my website and my YouTube channel. That seems to be, I think, a better approach than doing a lot of the type of traveling that I've been doing of late. And I think it'll help me get things out there in a more concentrated and focused manner. Plus, I want to turn my attention to trying to get the potential book edited and out in production, hopefully by sometime in the first half of next year. So I want to turn my attention to that as well. Another real quick event announcement I have is regarding the Free Your Mind 3 conference coming up in April of 2015. It has been told to me that the conference will be taking place in early April of 2015, similar to the first Free Your Mind conference. I believe the dates that they have planned or pretty much locked in were April 10th, 11th, and 12th of 2015. So that is Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, the 10th, 11th, and 12th. So I don't want to announce the venue. I do know where the venue is going to be, but I'm going to let the organizers announce that officially. For more information on the Free Your Mind 3 conference, you could check out the website freeyourmindconference.com. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be right back with our special guest, Jay Parker. Stay with us. Welcome back, everyone. You're listening to What on Earth is Happening here on RBN. I'm your host, Mark Passio. My website, whatonearthishappening.com. My special guest coming up, Jay Parker, Satanic Ritual Abuse Survivor. Real quick, there is a donation button on the left-hand side of the whatonearthishappening.com website. If you feel that you have received value from the information that's been shared here on the What on Earth is Happening radio show and website, feel free to make a voluntary donation to help support my work so that I can continue it into the future. Another quick thing, there are images associated with tonight's show. You can check them out either with the podcast for this show. This will be show number 171. Or if you're listening live, you could check them out at the whatonearthishappening.com radio show page. Just go to the website, click on the radio show tab, and underneath the player for tonight's broadcast, you'll see images for tonight's show. And you will also see Jay's images, some memes that Jay wants to discuss and talk about tonight on the show as part of our discussion. So they're listed as numerical links. You can click them to bring up a slideshow with those images. So I want to welcome my guest, Jay Parker. Jay, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you, Mark. It's good to be back on What on Earth is Happening. And I just want to congratulate you for your fine presentation in Connecticut and working with Richard Grove. Excellent work.
Yeah, like I said, I think it was a good learning experience for those who attended. Like I said, as part of the seminar, it was a introductory material. It was kind of rudimentary. I really was doing this more for the people who will watch it online, even more so than for the people who attended it live. For people who are expecting, really super high level material into deep occultism, perhaps they may be a little bit disappointed because, like I said, it was introductory material. But that's what it was intended to be, for people who really don't have a good understanding of what occult knowledge is at all to begin with, just to kind of whet their appetite and get them interested so that they could do further study and research on their own and, again, demystify this whole topic.
Well, it's amazing to me that we live in a world that is so mind-controlled that you really can't even say the word occult without getting a hardcore emotional reaction that 90% of the people will just turn away and say to you, I don't want to hear it. And that's the way anything about the occult is in this country. There's just such a taboo about talking about, the ancient spiritual and religious history of this world. There's only a handful of people that are really looking at this information.
Yeah, I agree. To just go back to what you were saying at the very beginning of that little segment there, one of the attendees came up to me during a break at the seminar and said, I'm really happy to be here and to get to speak with you. But I wish that more people would have come with me. He was telling me that he invited so many people to come and check out the seminar. And as soon as they heard the word occult, they would ask him, well, what's the topic going to be? What's the speaker going to talk about? And he said, it's called demystifying the occult. And he said as soon as people heard that word, they immediately, turned off and said, I don't want anything to do with that. That's all bad. That's all evil. And nothing good could come from me learning anything about that. Like you said, that's almost the perfection of mind control, is to actually turn the meaning of a word, the very definition of a word, into something that it was never intended to mean or be. and have that connotation be so strong in someone's mind that they cannot even fathom or conceive that that word can mean something other than what they actually believe that it means in their own mind. That's one of the ultimate form of mind control, through the obfuscation of the meaning of words.
And Orwell is rolling in his grave. But tonight on the show, Mark, we talked a little bit about what we're going to do for the next 3 hours. And I'm going to, with you, quickly go through some of the memes I set up in the slideshows.
Sure.
And we'll do that the first hour. Let's say the second hour, we're going to talk about some occult material. And third hour, we'll take some calls.
That sounds like a great plan to me.
So I'm going to get right into it. I'm going to come out swinging tonight, as I do on my radio show, SRA Today, on Blog Talk. And to get a grasp at where America is right now, you need to, who can fathom all the money that's being spent in Washington, all the waste, all the insane corruption and nonsense. But I set this meme up to try to wrap your head around what is literally happened in America in the last, say, since 9/11. All right, let's say since 2003. Okay, now in the 2008 banker bailouts, okay, and those bailouts continued for years, okay, the Federal Reserve and the American people gave the bankers approximately $7 trillion in cash. Now, from the Afghanistan and Iraq wars, America spent roughly $5 trillion. And the $125 billion a year spent in cancer therapy in America, which of course is nonsense compared to cannabis oil treatment, which basically takes chemotherapy and throws it right in the trash, all right, both cost-wise and effectiveness. Chemotherapy is only 2.1% effective after 5 years in America. So you're using radiation, chemotherapy, and surgery, and it's only 2% are alive after 5 years. So that's a good bang for your buck, huh? So all I have to say is, it's one of my pet peeves. I'm going to get into it more. But
and yet people still trust these priests in the white lab coat, when that's their odds, that's their chances, given the so-called state-of-the-art, treatment technology.
Well, it's sad to say, but there was a suppressed study that was done in 2003. It finally hit the media in 2010, and I saw it not too long ago. It crossed my feed. And basically, in Australia, chemo and surgery and radiation is 2.3% effective after 5 years. And in America, it's 2.1%. And
it's a joke.
So what I'm talking about by showing you these pictures of these two towers, these blue glass towers, and what they are Liberty Place towers in Philadelphia. Now, up until the building of the Comcast Center in Philadelphia, these two buildings were the tallest buildings in Philadelphia and I believe Pennsylvania. Now, these towers basically cost at the time in 1990 around, both of them, around $600 million. But
Jay, we're coming up to a break. Hold the thought right there and we'll pick this up on the other side. Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to What on Earth is Happening? My special guest this evening, Jay Parker. We'll be right back.
We don't need no education. gonna leave them kids alone. Hey, teacher, leave them kids alone.
Welcome back, everyone. You're listening to What on Earth is Happening here on Republic Broadcasting. I'm your host, Mark Passio. My website, whatonearthishappening.com. Jay, I'll let you pick right up where you left off. You were showing an image and talking about the Liberty Place Towers here in Philadelphia, and I believe you were going to, draw kind of like a parallel to how much this bailout really was the equivalent to.
Well, what I'm talking about here, and I'm trying to just do a in-your-face analogy here, okay? America spent $7 trillion in banker bailout. And that's not even including the backup guaranteed loans. I'm talking about $7 trillion in cash to the banks in the 07-08 crash. And then we have $5 trillion for Afghanistan and Iraq. That's a hell of a good investment, right? And then we add another $1 trillion wasted in chemotherapy, surgery, and radiation in the last 10 years. And it's actually a lot more than that, because we're talking about a $125 billion a year industry in allopathic cancer treatment. Because, we haven't found the cure yet. As Susan Corman says, we're still looking. But I just want to show you these two buildings in Philadelphia, which were, up until the Comcast Center, the largest buildings in Pennsylvania. If you take those trillions of dollars and add them up, you have $13 trillion, okay? And those $13 trillion would build you 13,000 Liberty Places. 13,000 of those two buildings. So you'd have 26,000 towers. 26,000 towers. And that's just 3 scandalous misuses of American financial might in the last 10 years.
While average citizens are starving in the streets without, 2 cents to rub together to even feed themselves in many cases. And, these people who are absolute criminals, white-collar criminals, get bailed out because they're too big to fail,
Absolutely. But if you want to know why this country is going down the shitter faster than a torpedo,
we have to watch the language because we're going out over AM and FM
right.
affiliates.
Well,
too.
I
Sorry.
won't do
That's
that
okay.
again.
No worries.
All right. But if you want to know why, then just think 26,000 towers, okay? Because you could have built 13,000 of those Liberty Place twin towers.
Amazing.
So let's go to the next meme, because we want to get through these in an hour and then start talking about some occult stuff. Now, Mark, I want you to read this meme and see if you can get through it without screaming.
Today, the richest 85 people on Earth own more wealth than the bottom half of humanity, some 3.5 billion people. So 85 people on the Earth, imagine that, own more wealth than the other, the lower income 3.5 billion people put together. As author Naomi Klein writes, quote, "We are witnessing a transfer of wealth of unfathomable size. It is a transfer of wealth from public hands, from the hands of government collected from regular people in the form of taxes into the hands of the wealthiest corporations and individuals in the world."
And this is what I'm trying to get into your head tonight for the first hour on What on Earth is Happening. That, as George Carlin says, the game is rigged and nobody seems to care. Well, you need to start caring and get active. You're already radioactive from Fukushima, so you might as well get active.
See,
this is serious. This planet, this society, the ecology, we're in deep trouble here, and we need you to take a moment and really get your head into the mindset that unless we wake up and we unite against these satanic oligarchs, we're not going to have a life. And, you can kiss your Ebola goodbye.
And what I'll add to that little meme there is the saddest part of this reality of so few people controlling so much and making decisions about what happens to the lives of so many people is ultimately the, quote, order followers of this world are working for them and are doing their bidding when they're in that lower bracket, that lower bottom of humanity that these people completely rule over, and they're still willing to do these people's bidding. When these people don't care about them, when they are ritualistically mocked by them, when they call them the dead and they call them their pets and their dogs, these order followers will still do their bidding for the measly grub and pittance of a paycheck that they're given to do this dark work. It's absolutely maddening, and it's sad at the same time, because these people have no idea who they're really, truly serving. If they did, many of them wouldn't continue to do the work as an order follower that they do. But unfortunately, they're so ignorant, they don't even know whose bidding they're really doing.
That's absolutely true. That's why you, myself, many other people in the Free Your Mind group are constantly out there trying to wake people up that this is a consciousness-driven holodeck, and everything you think, everything you feel, everything you do comes together and creates this reality. But here's another meme that I want to shove in people's face, okay? The legal system in America is run now 100% by bar lawyers. Lawyers who have passed the bar. To pass the bar means that you are of the Temple Bar in the City of London. It means you are a foreign agent. That's why in the beginning of America, lawyers were forbidden to hold public office. And this is a great meme, and it says, this 5-story Cayman Islands building, okay, houses 18,857 companies call it home. That's the home station of 18,857 companies, okay, in that 5-story building in the Cayman Islands. You and I, okay, do not have an incorporation in the Cayman Islands so we don't pay taxes. But the oligarchs who have taken over our government, especially since the coup d'etat of JFK, okay, have just turned all the tax code, all the regulation against the small and moderate businessman and entrepreneur, and it's all going to the biggest multinational corporations. And I'll give you one more meme on this financial stuff I'm shoving in your face, and you'll love this, okay? Banks collected over $30 billion in overdraft fees last year. Another way of saying that is banks took $30 billion from people that had no money. $30 billion in overdraft fees. And if you've investigated how banks are juggling your account so that they can get overdraft fees if you're on a tight budget, they actually will hold deposits up and then hit you with an overdraft fee. They've actually been known to do this, to actually mess with your account so they can hit you with an overdraft fee. But $30 billion. You know what $30 billion a year can buy the world? I'll tell you what it can buy. $30 billion is the exact figure it would take to end hunger in the world.
And yet these vampires keep leeching from the people who have the least.
Well, $30 billion would feed and stop starvation.
2 seconds.
We'll pick it up on the other side.
You know the day destroys the night, night divides the day. Try to run, try to hide, break on through to the other side, break on through to the other side, break on through to the other side, yeah.
Welcome back, everyone. You're listening to What on Earth is Happening. I'm your host, Mark Passio. My website, whatonearthishappening.com. My special guest tonight, Jay Parker. The images that we're talking about could be seen at the whatonearthishappening.com website on the radio show page or with the podcast for tonight. Again, this is podcast 171. Jay, you were talking about some of these issues about wealth disparity in the United States, and how the top very, very, very small percentage, less than 0.01% of the people, basically own all the wealth in this country and throughout the world, really, and the bottom billions of people really have nothing, and yet they're still trying to squeeze every last little bit out of people who are at the very bottom of society, as if they don't already have enough. It's a mental disease, essentially.
Oh, absolutely. We're talking about really sick predators, and of course they are Illuminati predators. Many of them are pedophiles, many of them are possessed archonically, and we are dealing with people who are so sick, and we're going to talk about the occult in the second hour. And I just wanted to come on and do some hard-hitting, slap-in-the-face financial reality to start the show off. People think that this country has fairness, and this is one of the most financially inequitable, unfair societies in the world. I mean, it's just the wage disparity in America is worse than any other Western country. CEOs compared to average workers in the company in America make vast amounts of more money than their counterparts overseas. And I'm sick of it. I mean, we in America have thrown away 13,000 liberty places in economic energy in the last 10 years. 13,000 liberty places. That's 26,000 high-rise towers, folks. Those are huge buildings. That's a lot of union jobs. I mean, folks, you cannot take that kind of financial energy and throw it in the ocean. If you do that, you end up where we are today, with an unemployment rate of 23%, and everything is going down the tubes. So the next meme I wanted to say, and we're going to get a little bit more philosophical to finish this section of the show out, is the next meme is slide 5.
Yes.
To learn who rules over you, simply find out who you're not allowed to criticize. And that's Voltaire. And nothing could be more true in today's society. Mark?
I would say the people who ultimately rule over people who are people who other people don't even know exist. They don't even understand about the dark occult at all. They don't even understand about this old religion that is these people's religion, and their whole belief system, their mentality, the tenets of their ideology. They know nothing about that. They're so well entrenched in the shadows that they have people believing that they don't even exist, which is really one of the things I want to talk about in the next hour, is the groups of people who still don't understand that dark occultism is what needs to be understood to understand the ideology and the force that's ultimately ruling this planet. And they're still in denial about its very existence. So those are the people that we have to understand are ultimately ruling this society. And of course, you can't criticize them if you don't even understand that they exist and that they're well organized and that they have an agenda that they're carrying out. So,
well, what I'm saying by this meme, Mark, is, and you could take it on several levels, but simply you're not allowed to criticize the banks because that's class warfare, and we're a classless America. You're not allowed to criticize Israel because that's ungodly, and so on and so forth.
You can't criticize the church, You can't
criticize
the politicians. How dare you speak out against our wonderful president? He's trying to make such great change happen in the world,
Well, I'm hooked on the hopium. So the next meme is 6.
Image number 6, yes.
Go ahead, read this one.
Well, it's the words of George Washington. Government is not reason, it is not eloquent, it is force. Like fire, it is a dangerous servant and a fearful master. I mean, I would go farther than that, and I would say government is violence. It's not just force. Force, I look at it as a positive element. It's using the ability to create physical change or use physical power to defend oneself. That's what force is. Government is violence. It is the unrightful usage of physical power in order to coerce, constrain, or compel somebody to do something that they don't wish to do, voluntarily. It's the opposite of voluntary interaction, which is what violence is.
And that's exactly what he says in the beginning of that statement. Government is not reason.
Right.
It does not reason with you.
Right.
It is not eloquent. It is a sledgehammer and a gun.
Right.
So get it through your head, because Washington certainly understood what government really was.
See, you still don't have enough of a critical mass of people understanding that government on its face, from its very inception, the very conception of the idea of government, is a complete fallacy. It is illegitimate on its very face. And most people still don't understand that, and they want to get into these arguments about how much government should be used or how much government is necessary, when the answer is all government is violence and slavery. Therefore, all forms of government, no matter how minimalistic, will always ultimately lead to chaos, and therefore they should never even be put into effect in the first place, or even conceived of as an idea that is somehow good for us that could lead to order. When you're using violence, you can't get to order. It's not possible because it goes against natural law. So, I think the founders understood this at a low level, but not at a high enough level to put it into practice. That's why, while they came over here and secured a modicum of a free way of life for the people, they made the mistake of going past what they had done with the Declaration of Independence and forming a new government. They should have left it at, we're free people, we're independent, this is an independent land, and try to come over here and rule us and find out what happens to you as a result. Well, that's what we need to say as a people. And when we get the Second American Revolution done, we need to resist the temptation to ever bring this ridiculous notion of government into this land again. And we need to be a shining example of a land without a government, without a coercive and violent behavior toward its people, for other countries to then set an example for other countries.
Well, our situation here is one of a people who systematically have been born and bred in ignorance. And as long as you have ignorance, you can't have freedom. So Let's go to the next one.
Sure. Image 7.
Yep. So
this is
one
a
of
quote
my
by
favorite.
Milton Friedman.
If you put the federal government in charge of the Sahara Desert, in 5 years, there'd be a shortage of sand. Milton Friedman.
Yep.
Couldn't have said it any better myself.
But we have bombs to rain down on other countries. We always have an abundance of those, Last year they were trying to shut down parks because the government was out of money, and this year they're just raining bombs from drones down on on Syria, on other lands, wherever they feel like waging an attack on other sovereign people and nations, wherever they think.
Well, we have to fight ISIS.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's the goddess, and, that's what this ultimately has been about for about 2,000 years. Destroying the divine feminine in the world.
And it's just amazing. People still can't see the symbolism when the name is right in their face. The war on ISIS.
Because they don't know about what we know.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to What on Earth is Happening. My special guest, Jay Parker. We'll be back. Stay with us.
I've got one more silver dollar.
Welcome back, everyone. You're listening to What on Earth is Happening here on Republic Broadcasting. I'm your host, Mark Passio. My website, whatonearthishappening.com. My special guest this evening, Jay Parker, satanic ritual abuse survivor. And Jay is also the host of his own radio show called SRA Today, which he hosts every Sunday evening on the Blog Talk Radio Network. Jay, let's continue with some of these memes into this hour, and then we're going to have a brief discussion on the occult before we take people's calls in hour number 3. So we got past about half of them, and we were on getting ready to move to meme on image number 8, which was about gun control.
Well, I just want to say that free people own firearms.
That's
and
right.
Slaves do not own firearms.
And that's all it comes down to, folks. I couldn't have said it any better than that myself. The bottom line is slaves aren't allowed to defend themselves with any weaponry, and only free people can keep and use any arms for personal and civil defensive purposes. Bottom line, that's what they're for. That's what they exist in the world for defensive means. And the only kind of people that are not allowed to own a weapon to defend themselves are called slaves. Period. The end. And this meme says it all. Because government would never turn on its own citizens. That's why we should have more gun control. We should take the guns away from people so only the government and the police forces have guns. Great, wonderful, brilliant idea. And there's still people who listen to this show, Jay, who are anti-gun, which it's amazing. And, one of the things that I want to, and by the way, this image is showing Japanese internment camps during, the World War II period here in America. Right here in America, we had internment camps of whole racial communities of people, as if that could never happen here. It already happened, past tense. People just are that ignorant of history that they don't even understand this occurred here on this land. But I want to just say that one of the closing statements that I made during my Demystifying the Occult seminar in the question and answer session, somebody asked about the defensive use of physical force to beat back the attack that we have been undergoing for, hundreds of years, if not thousands of years on this planet. This species, has been undergoing by our interspecies predator psychopathic friends, called governments of all ages. When I fielded a question about self-defense, my closing statement really in the question and answer session was, anyone that does not own firearms is a very, particularly at this point in our nation's history and the road that we seem to be heading down, is a very, very, very stupid human being. And I said it just like that to the crowd there in Connecticut, and I said, get as offended as you like, people, you know? And I'll make that statement right here on the air tonight. Anybody, I would say owning firearms is so important. If you have to not eat for days to have enough money, to scrape enough money together to buy some form of defensive weaponry, I don't care if you have to sell your clothes. I don't care if your children won't eat for a couple of days. You need to scrape that money together and get yourself something to defend yourself. If you can't hear the absolute imperative tone in the sound of my voice, you're never going to get it. You're never going to understand. You know, that's where most people's head is at when it comes to this, especially the New Agers, especially the super right-brained people among us. You know, I won't take more time. I'll let you say what you want to say on this, Jay, but I think the listening audience can hear.
I started this show tonight telling people 26,000 skyscrapers worth of economic energy was thrown away in America in the last 10 years.
Oh, it wasn't thrown away. It was thrown into the pockets of the
top 1/10
dark occultists
of 1%.
that own this place. Yeah.
It was thrown to the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers and the DuPonts. But I'm saying this, that you've got to get your head around the fact that we have $300 trillion worth of derivatives, which is bad financial bets, in the marketplace financially today.
Yep.
And when this derivatives market blows up, and when the BRICS of nations, totally tank the dollar, which is coming a year from now, the BRICS of nations, which is Brazil, China, Russia, South Africa, India, when they develop their own international bank of settlements, they will no longer use the U.S. dollar, and you're going to see hell freeze over in America.
Well, that's
and
when
if you're not armed, good luck
that's
with
when
that.
we'll have hyperinflation. Food, won't be able to be purchased except for sky-high prices. And
it'll be the Weimar Republic in the 20s.
Right. And then the people will be slavering at the mouth for some kind of a savior to pull us out of this, and they'll run right into the arms of a new dictatorship at that point, because they still don't understand how these
I hope it's somebody from the Pentagon with a nice uniform.
Let's move on to the next meme, and this is something that I want to get. First of all, folks, the gun issue, I have not stopped. I'm not going to stop covering that. When I finish my Cosmic Abandonment extended presentation, two of the themes I'm going to relentlessly hammer on is the absolute imperative of understanding the importance of firearms ownership, and above all else, I'm going to just relentlessly hammer on the dynamic of order following and how it is it's the ultimate evil in this world. And I'm going to get into, the whole mindset of order followers, where that comes from, what these people are thinking deep inside their subconscious mind, and, how to help get them out of that mindset, and things that we can do to actually formulate strategies to reach these people. So that's coming up in, future works on this show and in my future presentations. But another thing that's very near and dear to my heart that Jay's been talking about endlessly is the medical use of cannabis, which really needs to be exposed, and more people need to understand that the curative properties of this wonder plant really need to be grasped and understood by people globally. So Jay, this next meme, number 9, is about cannabis's healing properties.
Well, simply stated, Mark, the medical allopathic system in America that does chemo, surgery, and radiation for cancer therapy, 500,000 Americans roughly die every year from cancer. The average cost of chemo ranges from $60,000 a year to $140,000 a year.
Unbelievable.
If cannabis oil treatment was commercially produced, it would, according to Rick Simpson from phoenixtears.ca, our website you all need to go to get information and get Rick Simpson's book on cannabis oil treatment for a myriad of diseases. Cannabis oil cures all forms of cancer. It cures hepatitis C. It cures Lyme's. It cures Crohn's disease. It cures seizures. It
Diabetes.
Helps diabetes, epilepsy. Get Rick Simpson's book for $9.95. It's an ebook at phoenixtears.ca, and start putting the meme on your social media that cannabis oil cures cancer and many other diseases.
And the book Jay's talking about is called Cure for Cancer, the Rick Simpson Protocol. It's about Rick Simpson's suggested usage of 95 to 98% pure THC oil. So we're coming up to another break, folks. Stay with us. We'll be right back with our special guest, Jay Parker. Wake up from your sleep, ladies and gentlemen, if it's your soul you want to keep. Truer words were never spoken. And that's what this is all ultimately about, getting to the point of real awakening, streetwise spirituality, true enlightenment, understanding both the non-aggression principle and the self-defense principle, and not backing down from either one of them. My special guest tonight, Jay Parker, satanic ritual abuse survivor and whistleblower. And we were going through some of the memes that he wanted to discuss this evening. We were talking about cannabis and how it's a cure for a laundry list of diseases. And the truth about this is attempting to be suppressed by the medical and pharmaceutical industry. All I have to say is, I've met people personally who have been cured from the usage of high THC concentration cannabis oil. It does work. It can heal late stage cancer, and more people really need to understand about it. Right now, even underground treatments for this stuff can be as little as a couple of $1,000s, which is nothing when it's compared with the immense healthcare costs of traditional so-called treatments that do nothing but indiscriminately attack cells, both healthy and cancerous alike, and you're rolling the dice with that kind of so-called treatment. So I guess
can I say this? Rolling the dice, I mean, if you were to roll the dice in a casino, Mark, you basically have about a 50-50 shot at it. Well, you roll the allopathic cancer treatment dice, and you've got a 2.1% chance.
Which is a loaded set of dice, to say the least.
Yeah, to say the least. It's what it is we're going to get you sick, and we're going to make you a customer until we kill you.
Yep. And the doctors all go by this Rockefeller-approved protocol that
they've
never thought outside the box.
Suppression of information.
Right.
It's about mind control.
That's right.
And all I have to say is, Rick Simpson at phoenixtears.ca. You need to go there, get his book. You can go and get a medical card in California, Oregon, Washington, Colorado. If you're out of state, just go to one of the THCF clinics with your doctor's report of your ailment. You can find them on the web, THCF clinics. And if you're out of state, you can fly to one of these states. You can get medical marijuana. You can go see a grower and get oil and get treated.
Before we move to the next topic,
And it's about $2,000 right now for a standard cancer therapy.
And probably coming down.
And when it becomes commercial worldwide, it will go down to $100.
wow,
That's what Rick Simpson says.
unbelievable.
So the difference is $100,000 for chemo or $100 for cannabis. And you, by getting the word out and telling Susan B. Corman and these other frauds out there, hell no, we're not listening to your lies anymore, and we're not listening to your corruption, and getting the truth out. You should not let anyone you know die of cancer. Child, old person, middle-aged. You can go out west, get a medical marijuana card, even if you're out of state, and go through the system in these states of California, Oregon, Washington, Colorado, and get cured in like 90 days from the worst cancers. It's just 500,000 people a year in America, roughly, die from cancer, and it's needless.
Another thing I just want to put out there is the hype about certain types of cannabinoids like CBD being effective in cancer treatment. It really isn't the case. THC, high concentration of THC is what's required in the extract, the oil extract from the cannabis plant, from the cannabis indica plant, even more so than the sativa, is what's required in this oil. So you want a high indica strain if possible, and the tetrahydrocannabinol is the active healing ingredient, not CBD. So THC is what you want in cannabis oil.
Absolutely, and Rick Simpson's book talks about why you want to use indica rather than sativa. Indica is sedative, it's healing, it's calming, and basically go to phoenixtears.ca and become an activist for this wonder drug. Stop sitting on the fence and saying it's not my problem. The reason why $13 trillion, worth of money got wasted in America the last 10 years is people gave their power away and said, it's not my problem, I can't do anything about it. If we all start to say, enough is enough, it will change.
Well,
let's go to the next one.
Yeah,
Why don't you read that, Mark?
Let's move on to the next meme. This is image number 10 for people following along. It's a quote by John Lennon. When I was 5 years old, my mother always told me that happiness was the key to life. When I went to school, they asked me what I wanted to be when I grew up. I wrote down happy. They told me that I didn't understand the assignment, and I told them that they didn't understand life. Interesting quote.
Well, the thing is, I think that quote sums up our education system and our society very succinctly.
Yeah.
Because he's looking at life from a point of consciousness, and they're looking at life from a point of being a robot.
Yeah, their value system that they're trying to indoctrinate children with is the path to making money is the real value in life. That's it. Mm-hmm. What you do to actually make money in society, that's your value system. That's
the
what
label you have is you.
Right. The work that you do is who you are. That's you.
Now,
that's
there's
your
no
identity.
such thing as consciousness. There's no such thing as eternal consciousness. Go back to sleep.
Yeah, and when Lennon is saying to be happy here, he's not saying just to pursue pleasure. He's talking about contentment because there is peace, there is harmony, there is, the lack of violence in society. It's in conjunction with, the value system of truth, love, and freedom. Mm-hmm. That's what I feel is his, overall intent when he's using the word happy here. It doesn't mean hedonism. So, I think he's on target with what he's saying, that, ultimately, hey, that's our goal, is truth, love, freedom, and that's what contentedness and happiness will ultimately come from. So,
yeah, until you look at the person in the mirror and get on the center path and face your subconscious and face the programming of your society and make adult decisions about who and what you are based on reality and knowledge, you're simply just playing a tape that has been programmed into you in the first 5 years of your life. And you can change that.
This quote just, perfectly highlights the kind of indoctrination that people receive in school. So, I guess let's move on to the next meme, which was a quote from Nassim Haramein. Image 11.
Even at an extremely small radius, even at the extremely small radius of an atom, still contains some 99.9999% space. And I tell people this, that when you really look at the physics of our reality, we are in a sea of energy, and our consciousnesses are decoding that energy.
Back, everyone. You're listening to What on Earth is Happening. I'm your host, Mark Passio. Tonight, my special guest, Jay Parker, satanic ritual abuse survivor and whistleblower. Jay, we're wrapping up a few of these memes you wanted to talk about. We were on a quote before the break hit us from Nassim Haramein that even the extremely small radius of an atom still contains some 99.99999% space, empty space. This is about the seeming solidity of matter, but yet at the base level, everything is simply energy and vibration.
Well, Nikola Tesla, that's all I have to say. And why I put Nassim Haramein here is I always try to get people to get knowledge and viewpoints from really great teachers. And Nassim Haramein, the physicist, his work is someone you should check out. And you can go to the resonanceproject.org, I believe it is, but Google Nassim Haramein, and you can see his stuff on YouTube, and it'll really open your mind. So why don't you read this Tesla quote, Mark?
Sure. I've seen this meme before, by the way. This is Nikola Tesla's most suppressed quote. We're on image number 12 in Jay's images, in Jay's memes. Quote from Tesla: "Only the existence of a field of force can account for the motions of the bodies as observed, and its assumption dispenses with space curvature. All literature on this subject is futile and destined to oblivion. So are all attempts to explain the workings of the universe without recognizing the existence of the ether and the indispensable function it plays in the phenomena. My second discovery was of a physical truth of the greatest importance. As I have searched the entire scientific records in more than a half dozen languages for a long time without finding the least anticipation, I consider myself the original discoverer of this truth, which can be expressed by the statement, 'There is no energy in matter other than that received from the environment.'" I guess Tesla is talking about the vacuum of space, or what people have called the ether, the etheric field.
Absolutely. And Tesla understood that we are in, as Nassim Haramein says, a infinitely dense superfluid of energy. And I'm telling you right now, we should have free energy. We should have so many things like anti-gravitation. I'm sure that the elite already do, but hopefully as we keep pushing for free energy and anti-grav, we'll break through here.
But Jay, hey, wasn't the existence of the ether completely disproven by the Michelson and Morley experiments? You keep hearing that logical fallacy, and that whole absolutely repeated mind control technique. This experiment that was set up to collect this information about the ether was set up to detect the existence of particles blown by the wind on a windless day. That doesn't mean that there is no gas, that that wind doesn't exist, just because you didn't pick it up as you were expecting to pick it up the way you set the experiment up, because there was no wind on that day. This is how they basically kind of set this Michelson Morley experiment up, and then claimed it totally disproves the existence of the
As one of
ether.
our favorite people from the past century, Adolf Hitler, said, make the lie big and repeat it over and over again.
So, very interesting. I know Tesla was a very huge supporter of the idea of the ether, and essentially
if you go back and look at the turn of the 19th to 20th century, those geniuses that, like Fermi and other people like Tesla, I mean, just an incredible array of geniuses, both in America and in Europe. And the ether was talked about and written about all over the place.
Right.
And what we have here with the ether, and that's why I recommend Nassim Haramein, because he'll show you the physicality of the 64-grid tetrahedron, and the vacuum of space is full of energy. And all I have to say is, Tesla and Nassim Haramein, two people you need to know.
Yeah, the video I recommend from Haramein is Black Hole, WHOLE. That's a really great seminar that he or documentary that he put together regarding the way that the structure of the vacuum of space and how much potential energy that etheric field contains.
And he has continued, he did a film called Crossing the Event Horizon, and this guy is probably one of the few honest physicists out there, because if you have read the book by Rupert Sheldrake, Science Set Free, you will understand that our major scientific communities are controlled by Illuminati dark occult, and they are not letting the truth out.
It's a religion unto itself, hence why I and other researchers refer to it as scientism. It's a belief system in and of itself. Let's wrap up with these last couple of quotes, and then we'll move on into a discussion of the dark occult.
Good. So why don't you read this one?
This is by Malcolm X. This is image 13. The media is most powerful. The media is the most powerful entity on earth. They have the power to make the innocent guilty and to make the guilty innocent, and that's power, because they control the minds of the masses.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
Because most people would rather die than think. That's what it all comes down to. They don't want personal responsibility to truly understand the difference between right and wrong behavior. And that's why they continue to ideologically support violence. That's why they continue to act like slaves and engage in slave think mentality. And, they're just, at this rate, they don't even want the truth. They don't want to hear it. They want to exist in their little childish mentality, which is all about victim mentality, woe is me, what can we do, they're too powerful, etc., and so forth. And it's all just a little baby's child mentality of, I don't really want to take responsibility for myself, grow up, and actually do something about this scenario that's playing out. I'd rather be a passive spectator and just, watch the world pass by instead of actively becoming involved in trying to change other people's mindset, because that's the hardest work there is to do, is get up in people's mind and try to change their mental state by working with that dark matter and those logical fallacies and those complete ignorance and lack of understanding, and bringing the light into that darkness by force if you have to, by continuing to engage and talking to them about things they don't want to talk about, by continuing to bring it to their attention relentlessly. That's the great work, ladies and gentlemen, and that's what people don't want to do, because they recognize the power of this signal, this poisonous signal coming in from the media and coming in from bad food and just bad information. And people don't want to get involved in cleaning up all that garbage that's going on in between people's ears and in their body. They don't want to get involved. That's a sanitation job, is what it really is. To make the world sane again, you got to become the garbage man of the world, and you got to work with the dark twisted, diseased matter that is in other people's minds and souls. That's why the great work is so unpopular, because of the very strength of the media and how much it has people's minds on lockdown. So very powerful quote there, by someone who I think understood the importance of action personally.
Absolutely, and why I put Malcolm X here, and I want people to really think about what happened in the 60s in America, and really just sit and contemplate for a few minutes about the assassinations that went on and what the men that got murdered by the CIA and the FBI, really stood for. And then look at our society today and realize that the coup d'etat of 1963 and Jack Kennedy's murder by Lyndon Johnson and the CIA really and truly destroyed America. And we got one more and we're out?
Sure. This is the last one, image 14. It's about 9/11.
Well, all I can say is, if you believe that airplanes can fly into the Twin Towers and make them turn into dust, you've been watching too many cartoons.
Yeah, I've endlessly gone through, the whole 9/11 fear-based mind control operation, and how this was a total scam. My background in mechanical engineering, I've brought it onto the show and went through the physics equations to prove this hoax. But we'll pick this up on the other side, folks. Stay with us.
Penetrate the
Welcome back, everyone. You're listening to What on Earth is Happening here on RBN. I'm your host, Mark Passio. My website, whatonearthishappening.com. My special guest this evening, Jay Parker. Jay, we were just wrapping up with the last meme in your collection here of 14 images. It was about 9/11 being a, essential stage show to promote fear and institute draconian measures in the United States. The things that we saw weren't even consistent with the laws of physics, and people still buy into this event and bring it up as the hallmark event for the reason we need to continue all these draconian policies that we've implemented here in fascist communist America.
Well, absolutely, and the reason I like this meme is it's really cuts right to the bone of the heart of the issue. The official story is against all the laws of physics. And if you can look yourself in the face and believe something that denies the basic laws of Newtonian physics, and you're okay with that, do me a favor. Leave the planet now.
Yeah, for people that want to go back in my archive of podcasts, again, I broke down with my mechanical engineering background. I actually bored people by bringing all of the numbers involved in the buildings into account and plugging them into the basic physics dynamics equations, the Newtonian equations of rectilinear dynamics, and solving those equations to prove that the official story was impossible according to the actual known laws of physics. So, people can go back into the archive and bring that show up if they just search on the page when they look at the podcast section for 9/11. I took a whole show to basically break that down. So
well,
I guess
also you broke down the occult aspects of 9/11 in
That's
a
right.
video.
And there's another thing.
That's even more important to me.
There's another thing people don't understand is how, the societies that ultimately were basically planning this whole agenda and had planned this event for decades before this, they were using all kinds of occult symbolism and numerology in this event, and that's they stick to this plan. They're very predictable in that regard because they love their symbolism. They love their playing with numbers. They love putting this out into other people's face because they feel one of their dark principles, if you want to look at it like that, of their ideological tenets is that if you tell people what you're doing, even if it's telling them wordlessly through symbol or through numbers, then you have somehow gotten their implied consent, because they haven't said no, and not to say no is to tacitly say yes in their ideology and their mentality. And so that, somehow in their mind relieves the burden of karma that would ordinarily come down upon them for taking these actions or for directing these actions. They don't actually take the action. They get their order following house slave dogs to do it for them. But, in their mind, because they told you in a wordless occult way, then somehow that, alleviates the burden of karma that would ordinarily come down upon them because they did say it in some form. It's a sick, twisted way of looking at it.
It's a little bit deeper than that, too, because what they like to do is get people to actually see the truth and then automatically choose denial and the propaganda they've grown up with.
Yes.
So they see the lie, like John F. Kennedy's assassination or Robert Kennedy's assassination.
Right.
Robert Kennedy had 4 bullets in him from the back. Sirhan was standing 4 to 6 feet in front of him. So none of the bullets that entered Robert Kennedy's body could have been from Sirhan. Yet the American people stood by and allowed Sirhan to go to jail for Robert Kennedy's murder. And this is an act of cowardice, an act of compliance that, slave think people do. And so basically, they're not even trying to make it difficult to figure out who did it and why. And I mean, it's right in your face. And why did we attack Iraq and Afghanistan? For the oil, okay?
Yeah, when supposedly these so-called hijackers were all from Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates, but we went into completely unrelated countries. But Jay, this brings up this, you getting into the topic of denial brings up really what I wanted to get into, and we may go into this a little bit in the first segment of the next hour, which, by the way, I just want to quickly give the call-in number. We will be taking calls from myself and Jay Parker in hour number 3. The call-in number to join us next hour, 800-313-9443. Once again, 800-313-9443. What I wanted to segue into with that, topic of denial that you brought up is how many groups of people are still in denial about the existence of dark occultism in general and will never touch the topic of the occult world. They don't want to believe that they live in a world that is governed by a dark religion, by dark religious ideology. See, they want to think, there's so many groups of people that want to blame the entire problem with what's going on in the world on one particular aspect of things. They want to say, it's all the bankers. The bankers are the ones who are the problem of the world. It's all a financial problem. If we could just reel in our control over the money, the world is going to be a great place to live in. We're going to have everything figured out and it's all going to turn around. Then you have another group of people. It's just a political, class of people. We just got the wrong people in office. If we just get the right people into political positions, get them voted in, get all these bums voted out, get the right people in political office, everything's going to turn around. It'll all just work itself out. You have the people who think it's all just, religion controls it all. Oh, it's the Catholics, or it's, the Jesuit order. They're the ones who are behind all of it. And, if we just, get in there and rout out these sick religionists, then everything's going to be fine. You have people who think it's just a racial group of people. Oh, it's all the Jews that are causing all of the problem of the world. We don't want to look at political Zionism or Talmudic Zionist belief systems. We want to just blame Jewish people and say it's all their fault. We want to say, it's other religious groups. It's the Islamicists. Radical Islam is the core of the problem with the world. We have to fight that ideological war and fight them over there before they get us over here. All of these people are in denial about the old religion. By the old religion, I'm talking about the dark occult, the cult of the black sun, the dark solar cult, priest class, that is about the hoarding of high-level knowledge, the hoarding of occult sciences, the hoarding of ancient psychological knowledge about how the deep recesses of the human subconscious mind work and operate. The hoarding of the knowledge of how natural law functions to ultimately govern the consequences of our behavioral decisions and the actions that we perform toward others. This is the knowledge that this dark religious priest class has and holds over the heads of the people of this world. And they use it as a weapon for those who they keep in ignorance of these laws of nature and of the deep aspects of the human subconscious mind and the motivational factors that drive human beings. They don't want us to have that self-knowledge. They don't want us to have the knowledge of natural law. This is why I call these things the most occulted subjects, the most occulted knowledge on the face of the earth. And, I just want to say that people who still are in denial of the existence of dark occultism, that don't want to understand that ultimately a dark and global religion that has a hidden priest class in operation throughout all of the institutions on the face of the earth is what's really controlling things. They are a tight-knit operation of very different orders and societies that work like a spiderweb network throughout the world, where one hand washes the other, and they work together toward a common goal. We're going to pick this discussion up on the other side of this break in the first segment of the next hour. Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to What on Earth is Happening. We'll be right back.
We don't need no education. We don't need no thought control. No dark sarcasm in the classroom. Teacher, leave them kids alone. Hey! Teacher! Leave them kids alone!
What was that?
All in all, it's just another brick.
Welcome back, everyone, to hour number 3 of tonight's edition of What on Earth is Happening. I'm your host, Mark Passio. My website, whatonearthishappening.com. The network's website, republicbroadcasting.org. My special guest tonight, Jay Parker. Jay, before the last break, we were talking about the fact that so many groups of people still are in denial of the world of the occult, particularly the old religion that I simply refer to as the dark occult. Why do you think people are still in this level of denial and still are in such a level of mind control that they can't even hear the word occult and understand that it means hidden knowledge, and that they just want to shut down, glaze over, and, go into this, hiding mode practically when they even hear the word occult, let alone try to understand how these groups have worked together in tandem with each other to carry out the control agenda that's playing out right before our eyes?
Well, it's pretty simple. Mark, what you have to do to get a handle on, what happened to humanity is basically you have to see what happened to education in the Western culture through the Frankfurt School and through outcome-based education. Once critical thinking was removed from the classroom and replaced with outcome-based education and the German-Prussian model of repeat after me and don't think, basically we ended up with people that don't have any critical thinking skills and don't ask the question, why is this person telling me this information? What is their benefit in me believing this? And you really have to look at the history of cultural manipulation by the oligarchs. And when you start to study history and start to study the bankers, which are just part of what the oligarch control dark occult is, you will see the bankers in America, for instance, in 1912, bought 25 of the largest newspapers in America and turned them from being, newspapers that reported the news to newspapers which reported propaganda. And they took over the education system. They used the tax system to slowly take over the pulpits. And we have a society now that basically is controlled top and bottom. And to learn about the control of society, because people need to know that they're programmable. It's a hard thing for people to face, but if you listen to Bruce Lipton's work, Wisdom of Yourselves, you would know that in the first 5 years, people are in a hypnagogic trance.
Right.
And they are taking in all their enculturalization. And whatever their culture tells them, that becomes the word of God to them. Whether you grow up in a religious family or not, that first 5 years, 6 years of your life, before you ramp up and get a normal, full mind consciousness and have all your brainwave patterns, that becomes your subconscious. It runs 98% of your thoughts and deeds in your life. And Wisdom of Yourselves by Bruce Lipton goes into what the ramifications for a human being is in their subconscious. And so what we have in our society are people who are steered by the Illuminati's Tavistock Institute for Human Relations. And Dr. John Coleman wrote an excellent book on this. And until you read that book, and until you start to look at Bruce Lipton's work on how the human brain develops in the first 5 years, you're not really even going to want to get on the center path and start to learn and become your own person. Because you're not going to see the need for it, because you're going to be a zombie under mind control.
And still in collectivist mentality. Yes.
Correct.
Now, one of the things you brought up was programmability. This is something that I've been repeatedly focused on in my work when it comes to human nature. And it's a hard pill for a lot of people to swallow, that we are a programmable species. With that having been said, the importance of understanding the programmability of the human being, especially at a young age, cannot be understated. But I think to balance this, we still need to understand that people are still responsible for their behavior, even if they receive soft programming, soft mind control, like what I would call soft forms of mind control. This still doesn't excuse us for the responsibility over our own behavior. It means that we have to still critically gauge the way that we have been receiving information, and then filter that information and come to a conclusion about whether it is inherently consistent with itself. This is still a capability that people have, but they don't use. They don't use because it's much easier to just go along with the programming by rote like an automaton, like they've been trained to do. It's much harder to resist your training and want to break free from that confined set of protocols and parameters that you've been given to operate under, because what those protocols and parameters are saying to your not only your conscious but your subconscious mind is, hey, you're not responsible. We are. We're the ones who gave you these orders. We're the ones who programmed you like this and told you that all you have to do is listen to us. And so we'll be responsible for the ramification of the results of your behaviors. You're not ultimately responsible for that. We are. The ones who are your order givers, okay? The ones who are your programmers. And it's not true. They can make that claim all they want, but ultimately people are still responsible for the behaviors that they carry out. And this is one of the central cornerstones of my work. And it's, it's one of the reasons people don't like to hear what I have to say in many cases, because so many people want to believe that in the final equation, human beings are not ultimately responsible for the behaviors that they themselves carry out. They want to pass the buck and the responsibility on to someone else. And I've claimed this is only a claim that can only be made, but it's never true in reality. In reality, we're ultimately responsible. We can make the claim that we could abdicate that responsibility, but we can't actually, in reality, abdicate that responsibility to anyone else. It always belongs to us.
Well, this is where you're way off base, because I was just following orders. The idea...
Just doing my job, right, Jay?
Yeah, it's just my job. I didn't make this a law.
Yep.
Now, the thing is, this is a huge thing that is throughout all of society today, and it's been systematically programmed into people for the last 3 or 4 generations, is that you can take your moral culpability and pass it away to someone else and say, well, the politician made me do it. The law made me do it. This, that, and the other thing. You cannot, in reality, take away your responsibility for your own actions.
Absolutely. And again, this is going to be one of the things I'm going to relentlessly hammer upon in coming weeks, months, and years in the What on Earth is Happening material. So, Jay, I think it was really worth taking this extra segment to get into some of that material. Ladies and gentlemen, your calls coming up on the other side. Stay with us. You're listening to What on Earth is Happening. We'll be right back.
Fight for the world! You know the day destroys the night, night divides the day. Try to run, try to hide, break on through to the other side, break on through to the other side, break on through to the other side, yeah.
Welcome back, everyone. You're listening to What on Earth is Happening. I'm your host, Mark Passio. My special guest this evening, Jay Parker, satanic ritual abuse survivor and whistleblower. Jay, are you ready to go to the phones and take some calls?
Yeah, Mark, I just want to talk briefly before we take a phone call. You can give the number out, and I'll just say a few things.
Sure. Toll-free number to join us, 800-313-9443.
I just want to thank you again for having me on. It's always a pleasure to be here. I love to come in here and, try to slap people upside the head. We're at a point where 40% of the ozone layer is gone from geoengineering spraying. And if this continues, some scientists say we'll have no life in the northern hemisphere of the planet in 15 years. So keep that in mind, that the aluminum, barium, and the HAARP that's used to manipulate the jet stream and change the weather patterns is destroying the planet. But also, I just want to say this one little story. I grew up in Arden, Delaware, which is an occult pedophile village that worships the Marquis of Hell. 90% of the children I grew up with in the 60s in Arden, Delaware, were ritually, satanically abused, and many of them went into the CIA's Monarch Mind Control program that I was in. Now, what I'm saying is Arden was founded in 1900 along with their sister community, Rose Valley, Pennsylvania. People like John Lash, the Gnostic scholar, are still in denial about chemtrails. They're still in denial about satanic communities in the world. But let me say this one little nugget my Illuminati mother, who worked for the DuPont family, said to me as she was training me to be Illuminati. When you see a town or a city that has TON in the end of its name, that's us. So think of Wilmington, think of Trenton, think of Boston. TON. Now, it doesn't mean the entire city is a cult, the entire town is a cult. What it means is key people in the founding of that society were dark occult. And I say to everyone, and I've said it in my talk with Alfred Weber, which is on the web, that there are 34 million dark occultists in America today, roughly 10% of the population. It's not just the elite Rockefellers, DuPonts, and Rothschilds. It's the cops, it's the teachers, it's the professors.
They like their little wordplay, their symbolic wordplay. You know, they're dark atonists. Mm-hmm. So we're going to add aton to the end of, you know, the names of these towns.
There you go.
Yeah.
And why I'm bringing this up is, when you look at Philadelphia, look at the statue of Billy Penn on top of City Hall. In his right hand, he has a scroll, which my mother said means, and this is the Freemason symbol, for having dark, occult, hidden knowledge. And in his left hand, Billy Penn has a bag. And as my mother told me, every warlock has a bag. And if you think Billy Penn, the Quaker, wasn't a warlock, you better talk to my mother and the dark occultists I grew up with, because they knew he was.
Jay, I'm going to personally revisit some of this symbolism and put together a presentation about the name Bill in general. Like here in Philadelphia, the occult symbolism of City Hall is so obvious. Maybe I could do an entire presentation on that one day. Phallic symbolism, zodiacal, astrotheological symbolism in the middle of City Hall. The hypercube, octagon symbolism is all over it, crushing the different races of the world. There's reptilian symbolism inside that building. It's unbelievable. It's just a modge podge of dark occult symbolism.
Absolutely.
All over that building. So that's something I want to do in the future. Let's hear what some of our callers have to say. Again, no taboo topics here on this show. There never are. Anything you want to ask me or Jay is open and fair game. Let's go to the phones. Let's hear from Robin in Missouri. Robin, you're live on What on Earth is Happening. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, hey guys. So I want to be as quick as possible. So I want to hear your input on a quick story that I have, and it's pretty important for my community where I'm living right now. Basically, I'm certain beyond a doubt that there is a satanic disinformation agent lurking around in my area right now, polluting the minds of my community members. So what I want to do is recount my story to you really quick, and then I want to hear what you have to say about it, because it's pretty crazy.
Sure.
So, is that okay?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So, I live in Missouri, in a local rural area with Amish and Mennonites around everywhere. So there are 3 communities living in this area who are intentional communities and eco-villages, and we're all part of this network of living sustainably and living with one another and loving the land. And, you know, a lot of the people in the area are very conscious people, and they're aware of some of the crazy things going on in the world, but they're still naive to a lot of the manipulation going on.
Right.
So if you could have, you know, your mind focused on this location, imagine the Shire in the Lord of the Rings.
Sure.
That's basically where I'm at. That's what it looks like. So there's this guy who's going around, and he's not been around for a long time, but he's basically trying to convert people to the idea that climate change is it's caused by humans, and he's repeating information to people, trying to convince them over and over again. He's repeating this stuff like it's his job, and he's asking people how much water they're saving and all these things. I have no doubt in my mind that he's a spy. And this past May, we had a party on May Day where all of us community members got together and had a party to celebrate the coming of spring, and we danced and sing music. He attended wearing goat's clothes, so he dressed up as Pan, and he was playing a flute. And I know that's Baphomet symbolism. I know that he's trying to spread satanic philosophy in the subconscious of everybody. I know what this guy is doing. So I want to ask you all, and to go further, he works on people's computers. That's his job. He fixes everybody's computers. So he has access to everybody's data and looks at what they're doing. And there are children in the area that he interacts with. So this is some serious stuff. So I want to ask you, how best can I approach my community members and bring the subject up in a way where they don't just dismiss it right away and think I'm crazy? This is serious. I need these community members to understand what's going on. So that's what I want to say.
Jay, would you like to respond to that?
Well, I mean, we all know that when it comes to Agenda 21 issues like global warming and climate change, the government is spending billions of dollars in buying agents and getting the word out. And he sounds like a spy to me. I mean, I'm just telling you.
Yeah.
And, not too many people are going to get dressed up as Pan on Beltane, okay? So, right there, I mean, I got a little bit of a spiritual hit when you said that. I was like, well, doesn't sound too good,
Yeah.
Sounds like, he's a dark occultist. And he's probably working for the government. But what you can do about that is, if you want people to wake up to, the occult reality, probably one of the things you would want to look into is the work of Michael Tazarian, along with Mark Passio's work. But Michael Tazarian's work dealing with the ancient history in origins and oracles.
We got to go to break. We'll be right back, folks. Welcome back, everyone. You're listening to What on Earth is Happening. My special guest tonight is Jay Parker. We were taking your calls. Toll-free number to join us, 800-313-9443. Jay, I'll let you wrap up your comment on Robin from Missouri's comment.
Well, Robin, when you mentioned he was dressed as Pan at the Beltane, I got a little flutter in my spirit, and I'm definitely thinking dark occult. But he sounds like a government agent, and so he's an Agenda 21 boy. He's towing the company line about sustainability and the fact that human beings are bad with their CO2 and global warming. Now, the issue of climate change and what's going on with the weather, you need a lot of true information and someone who doesn't have an axe to grind, whether it's an oil man or whether it's a quote-unquote communist environmentalist. And the website you need to go to get ammunition and truth about climate change and about what's really going on with the ecology is a website called geoengineering.org. Geoengineering.org.
Geoengineeringwatch.org.
Oh, sorry. Geoengineeringwatch.org. It's run by Dane Wigington. Geoengineeringwatch.org has a radio show at, I guess it's 3 p.m. Eastern Time every Saturday for an hour. And go to geoengineeringwatch.org and look at their information, and you'll really get a understanding of the chemtrails and HARP situation and what's really going on with the ecology. These people that run this website only care about saving humanity, much like Mark and myself.
Great comment, Jay. Let's move on and let's hear from Jonathan in New York City. Jonathan, you're live on What on Earth is Happening with our special guest, Jay Parker. Welcome.
When did I ever portray you to be a dick? I could have just not answered yours. When did I ever portray you to be a dick?
Jonathan, are you there? Going once, going twice, gone. Let's hear from Eric in Colorado. Eric, you're live on What on Earth is Happening. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Jay, Mark, how you guys doing tonight?
Doing well.
Good.
I'm so glad I got through. Jay, I have huge admiration for your work. Every time I think that I'm struggling with mind control, I'm growing up in a supposedly normal, loving, reasonably stable American family. I think about what you have overcome on your path, and it creates great admiration for me and great inspiration. Speaking of inspiration, I've been meaning to call the show for a couple of weeks now. Mark, I've been in touch with Ivan from Arizona.
Oh, yes.
And I have started a meetup here called Free Your Mind Colorado.
Awesome. I'd love to see these groups spring up all over the country.
Yeah, so we're going to be meeting the first and third Thursdays of the month here in Denver at a coffee house called Stella's, Popular Coffee House, which is sort of midway between North and South Denver metro area. I actually live in Littleton, so that was a flash for me tonight.
Well, you'll be happy to know my occult family, aunt and uncle lived there also. So enjoy.
Thank goodness. I'll just go door to door and see if I can find them and ask them just what the deal is. But so anyway, we're going to meet the first and third Thursdays at Stella's, and it is on the meetup.com site under Free Your Mind Colorado. I feel like, I discovered you guys through tragedy and hope. Discovered your work, Mark. It has literally changed my life.
I appreciate that.
I imagine there aren't other people in Denver that are aware, and so
sure.
I imagine it's a place to publicize the show itself.
This is a phenomenal idea, Eric. People should take an example from someone like Eric and someone like Ivan. Put together a group in your area. Find like-minded people. Meet once or twice a month. Get together. Talk. Make a strategy to reach other people. Give out DVDs and presentations. This is grassroots effort. This is how you reach out, how you find other like-minded people, and then how you branch out and spread the word to other people in your community. And this is how you try to influence people's minds. You have to get together with each other physically, in person. It's a great idea, Eric. I wish you all the luck in the world in starting this group. I hope it goes great for you.
Well, Eric, do you do Facebook?
I do.
Well, if you're not a friend of mine, definitely give me a friend's request, and we'll do some chatting, and I'll talk to you again. Give you some pointers.
Yeah.
Sound good?
Ivan was really helpful with an email of what he's found successful, and so it's interesting. My co-organizer is a good friend of mine, a lady I know quite well, and I turned her on to Mark, and just watching. It was completely inspiring. She was sort of right there at the edge, not quite ready, and just watching this sort of upward spiral when people take this kind of what I really call it's like a bath in the truth.
Right.
This ongoing, wow, pretty much thing after thing after thing, is verifiable in your own experience. And you're not looking to start a church or be a guru or have people send money or anything. This stuff is all free. It's all free. You don't need to believe him. You don't need to sign up for anything.
Nope.
It's all just there for free. You need to listen to it as long as you can stand it, and and ask yourself the deep questions. So that's what we're going to try to help people do.
And you know what? Like I said, this is what real grassroots effort is all about. It isn't about, waiting endlessly, to take action. It's about putting something together, reaching out to other people and let it be what it is and take on a life of its own, and you'll build it. You'll build the effort. You'll reach new people. New people will come in and become involved. And you just keep pressing forward with a little bit of patience and persistence, and you'll see that you'll reach new people and you'll change lives. That's what this is all about.
And we're talking about, Eric, a quality of life issue. Turn the TV off and turn your mind on.
That's it.
Yeah, that's what we're trying to do.
Eric, I want to, thank you for your personal efforts and, stepping out and putting something together and making something happen. We need more people with that kind of courage. We need more people with that kind of dedication to actually get up and do something. So, I totally applaud your efforts.
Well, the thanks goes to you, and maybe when the book is published, you'll do a road trip out west, and you can hit Arizona and Colorado.
Sounds good. We will see.
Right.
Eric, thanks so much for the call. Let's move on to Alex in Florida. Alex, you're live on What on Earth is Happening. Welcome.
Hi, Mark. Thanks for having my call, and hi,
Sure.
Jay.
Hi.
Do you believe that the dark occult is managing countries like Russia as well and China? Just out of curiosity. I sometimes wonder if it's...
I personally believe they're as strong in those countries as they are in the United States or any other countries. I think it is ultimately that it's the force that's running at the highest level of all institutional bodies in the world, because it came out of the ancient world, and the knowledge that came out of the ancient world that was left here by, again, this cosmic abandonment idea, this thesis that other beings came here in the ancient past with very advanced knowledge, very advanced sciences, very advanced knowledge of genetics, biology, psychology, etc., knew everything there was to know about us because they essentially, bioengineered us. And they basically left this priest class in charge when they no longer wanted to be here and went back to wherever it was that they ultimately came from. That was the abandonment of this species, and this priest class was this, cabal of people with high-level knowledge that had been entrusted to them by these people, left, quote-unquote, in charge as the authorities to govern or administrate this world that was left in a state of basic disarray and the people in chaos and confusion. And they took that knowledge and they ran with it. They understood that knowledge, if it was held very tightly within their own circles and held out of other people's hands, could be converted to a very large power differential in society. And that's what started the original secret societies, the intelligence networks, all the institutional bodies of the earth began as a result of that knowledge disparity in the population, being very concentrated in the hands of this priest class and very absent in the hands of the general population. It was the origin of dark occultism, and that spread to all countries, not just some, but everywhere across the face of the earth. It's why we're in the situation we're in now. We've never come out of that level of control. I'll let Jay give his take on that on the other side of this break, folks. You're listening to What on Earth is Happening. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone. You're listening to What on Earth is Happening. This is the last segment for this edition of the broadcast. My special guest, Jay Parker. We're taking your calls. Toll-free number to join us, 800-313-9443. Jay, your take on Alex from Florida's question regarding whether the dark occult has presences in all other countries.
Well, if you look at Vladimir Putin, you'll see pictures of him with a yarmulke on, Russia deals with the Rothschild Vatican central banking system. There is no difference. We put the communists, meaning the CIA and the Rockefellers and our oligarchs, put the communists in power in Red China. So there's only a handful of countries that are outside of the central banking globalist dictatorship, and that would be North Korea, Iran, Syria, and I think there might be one other country.
Well, Libya
like
was,
Cuba.
but that changed.
Cuba.
Last year.
Yeah, Libya is gone now.
Yep.
So all I have to say is they're all different flavors of criminal gangs, and occasionally they have wars to settle gangster disputes, just like mobsters in Chicago in the 20s and 30s.
Yep. Internal turf wars, basically.
Yeah.
Yep.
But basically, there's probably 1,000, really 800, 500 top occultists. And there's a book out called Superclass, and it gives the story of the 200,000 people that basically rule this world. A recent college study came out and said that on a double-decker bus, a London double-decker bus, you could put 80 people on that literally own half this planet.
Yep. All right, let's move on and let's hear from Robert in Missouri. Robert, you're live on What on Earth is Happening. Welcome.
Hey, greetings, guys. You know, I'm living here in St. Louis, and right now this city is under such severe divide and conquer mind control with these police shootings, and this it's fascinating to be here and watch the divide between
along racial
white people
lines.
and
Yes.
black people.
Yep. It's amazing that any white people could be so racially charged and believe in this nonsensical, ridiculous idea of a division of races in humanity, that they would actually, like good little house slaves, support what the police are doing in this country, that they would actually get behind a police state system. It's a disgusting ideology that these people have. And, you know, anybody who's racist just completely and utterly misses the point of what's going on this world. Absolutely misses it entirely. They have no idea what's going on. They haven't grown up. They're still a little child who is in this me, I identify with my tribe ideology, and they have no idea how they're completely owned. They're completely ruled. And as long as they're in that mentality, they're going to be ruled. You know, and the people in there and throughout the world need to wake up and understand it. It is a divide and conquer strategy, and they're falling for it hook, line, and sinker.
Well, it's a hybrid version, though, because they've got the blacks in St. Louis ready to strike out in any way they can. The frustration level so high because you know, we know this. The NAACP was started by Jacob Schiff, Paul Warburg, Rabbi Stephen Wise, a bunch of Jewish supremacists to use the African American population as a bludgeon, as a weapon system itself. And so this is
in many cases, you're dealing with a lot of ignorant people that are being manipulated themselves. You know, but the whole point here is, ultimately, the government is still doing things that are completely against human rights, and they keep pressing and pressing and pressing. I'll just give you an example. Every single time I travel, I'm selected out of line because I have a beard. And because if you look at some of my features, I could look Egyptian or possibly Middle Eastern, not just Italian. You know, my heritage goes back to Southern Italian descent, so that's mixed in with Egyptian and Northern African, etc. I could be seen to have somewhat a feature set like that. every single time they try to claim it's a random process. Oh, you're being randomly selected to be taken out of line and have your bag, dusted down for some explosive material or whatever. It's not a random process. Clearly, these psychopathic, order-following house slaves have been told racially profile these people. Racially profile them, and anybody that looks somewhat Middle Eastern or other questionable descent or heritage, pull them out and make an example of them. There's nothing random about it. It's called racism. That's what's going on there. It's called selecting people because of their feature set. Not because you know anything about them, because you know anything about their intent, because you have any belief that they may do something that's harmful to somebody else. I'm a peaceful person traveling, and you want to pull me out of line because of how I look, because I have a beard and long hair, and I might look, Middle Eastern or Egyptian,
Well, Mark, it's like this. The Fox News crowd, the conservatards, this is almost the strongest form of mind control out there, is this Islamophobic thing that's been run on the, your regular old Republican type of person, because they're ready to commit genocide on the entire Islamic world over these fake beheadings and the rest of this garbage.
Like I said, like I said earlier in the show, it's everybody trying to blame some kind of a subclass of people that they have some kind of a distaste for, when they can't see that the ultimate machinations and manipulations are going on behind the scenes by this priest class that Jay and I simply refer to as the old religion or the dark occult. Until you understand what that group of people is and what their ideology is, you don't know what's going on this planet. Jay, your take on this?
As long as you're divided, you're conquered.
And as long as people are at a partial level of awakening and not all the way awake, not in a state of true spiritual, streetwise spirituality level of enlightenment, of understanding both the highest principles of creation, which are the sacred feminine non-aggression principle combined with the sacred masculine principle of self-defense, people are still ultimately asleep. Until they understand natural law at a high level, they're ultimately asleep. It's called, as long as we abide in partial darkness, we will continue to be conquered. And being divided is being conquered, as Jay just said. I want to thank you for your call, Robert. Let's try to squeeze one more call in here if we can. Jay, let's go to Jonathan in Kentucky. Jonathan, you're live on What on Earth is Happening. Welcome to the show. And we have limited time, so get to your question quickly. Thank you.
Real quick, Mark, I'd like to know, do you have a mailing address or a P.O. box that we can send donations to? I've gone on your website and
yes, I can.
Email.
Yes, you can. You can contact me by email. In the contact section, there is an email link to request sending a donation by mail. Just send me an email through that link, and then I will reply with the mailing address to do so.
Okay, and I have a quick question for Jay. This is a spiritual encounter I had. I had a dream. I'll make this quick. I had a dream a serpent was coiled around my arm and bit me and sent energy to my heart. And right before it hit my heart, I consciously woke up in my bedroom and seen the tree of life symbol in my face. And immediately as I was aware of it, and it was aware of me being aware of it, it disappeared. My lamp fell over, and I heard 1,000 knocks of people knocking above my head and underneath my bed.
I'll just chime in on that before Jay does. I would say you had a very powerful Kundalini experience symbolically, and that's a call to higher level spiritual awakening. If you ask me, that's what that symbolism is calling you to go further in your understanding and to start speaking out on your own as a possible potential future teacher. And that's a powerful, positive, Kabbalistic spiritual symbolism in that dream. Jay, I'll let you finish up with your take on that.
Definitely check out Michael Tazarion's work on ancient symbolism and learn about the serpent cult of the ancient world. It's not a negative thing, it's a positive thing. So Origins and Oracles on YouTube.
Check out Jay
Michael
Parker's show
Cesarion.
tomorrow night on Blog Talk Radio, SRA Today. Jay, thanks so much for being my guest once again.
welcome.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's all the time we have on this edition of What on Earth is Happening. Remember, there's only 2 mistakes you can make on the path to truth: not starting and not going all the way. Thanks for listening, everyone. We'll see you right here next week.